The Film Crickets are intended for mature audiences. Any guests on the Film Crickets do not necessarily share the same opinions as the Film Crickets. It's time for the Film Crickets with Jay Fortier, Chris Martineau, and Melanie Howerton. On this week's episode, it's like Christmas to Melanie as the Crickets review the 1979 American supernatural horror film, The Amityville Horror.
There's peace in this house. Get out. Get out.
Does it stand the test of time? Let's find out. Your Film Crickets are on now.
All right. Hey, friends, and welcome to the Film Crickets. It's a podcast where we talk about movies from 1980 to 1999, or a little bit earlier and a little bit later, not too much.
Yep.
And we talk about how well they hold up today. That's the most important part. And I am your co-host, Jay Fortier, and I'm along with my good friend and co-host, Chris Martineau.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hello.
And along with good friend and co-host, Melanie Howerton. Hi.
Hey. Hi.
What's going on?
Oh, not much. I'm excited to do another horror movie.
Yes. So scary, this one. A lot of rattling chandeliers and moving rocking chairs and blah. Sorry, I think I'm tipping my hand on my opinion of this movie.
Yes, you are.
Hey, where's our guest? What's happening? It's just the three of us? It's the trifecta. That's all right.
It was Ray Osier, and he couldn't make it, so I found out last night. So Steve sometimes doesn't get to the intro until Sunday, the day that we record. So I told him yesterday, I was like, just the three of us, because I had originally told him Ray was joining us. So
Yep.
well, he's always joining us all the time, here and there. So he said, we'll join you soon. I was like, absolutely.
Yeah, well, I'm glad we get to change it. I get to watch this on Tubi. Thank you, Jason, for telling me about that. I didn't have to rent it, so I appreciate that.
I wonder where I watched it. I wonder where I watched it because I didn't have to pay for it.
Jay told me Tubi, and that's where I went. So
Yeah.
I think it was on HBO Max. I think that's where I saw it.
Did you guys, when you saw this in maybe your high definition TV, did you notice it was really good to have it in like this really vivid color so you could see the gray makeup on James Brolin. Basically, kind of Dawn of the Dead shade of blue-greenish. What the hell? And Jay, remember, enough and nothing. Hey guys, we're doing Amityville Horror, and it's from '79, so we can't really talk about. I mean, there's not a lot of special effects and whatnot. But those hairdos. Hey Jay, remember when you were in high school, and you were so excited to get your rock and roll haircut? I won't say. Well, it was a perm, but that's okay. I mean, it was long and curly, and I was into it. I was into it. You were into it. You're very excited. Brolin is rocking that perm. He's got the weird, like, when he starts going crazy and he has that Jerry curl thing going on, where half of it's, like, wet and half of it's not, and it's happening. But, boy, the makeup on that guy. Like, I felt bad. He didn't look good. So, look, I don't know where we are. We usually ask, like, our history with this. When did you see this? When did you guys see this movie the first time? I know you watched it the other night. I don't think this is in high rotation for anybody here, right? We aren't always, maybe Melanie, are you always going back to the Amityville Horror every year, like Halloween? Or has it been a while?
Not as much as Halloween, but I would say it's to me, it's a classic horror movie. So if I see it on, I'll watch it. And sometimes I just get in the mood to watch it. So,
okay.
Yeah.
So you've seen it more than, I've seen it once since 1985.
Oh yeah, I've seen a lot more than that, yeah.
Okay, so I have not revisited it since then. Jason, what's your deal?
I remember when it came out, it was like this enormous deal. Like,
yes, I don't get it, but yes,
it was so talked about. Like the images, they even had like little like 15-minute specials like that would be on the middle of a show, like dedicated to it around when the release was happening. And like then see, you got to understand this was not everything being on demand. Nothing was in social media, so you weren't getting anything like okay, all right, I see what the thing is, like I have all the information now. Back then, it was like you saw a little bit, and then people would talk to each other about it. Like, oh my god, my god, my god. The chair was rocking with the doll.
Oh my god!
Yeah, and the doll had glowing eyes, even though that wasn't the case. But like like that, like the rumors like almost built about the thing, like so like, and then even I remember, I want to say it was like in Rhode Island there was a station 92 Pro FM. I want to say it was them. They gave away a night in the house, like I don't know if it was the movie house or the actual house. But like, like as a contest winner, and I was like, yeah, there's no way nobody's messing with them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's no way they're gonna come out and go, that was the most rest I've ever had.
Yeah, well, I'm very comfortable.
So all right, so that was my like I just remember being petrified of like the idea of it, because I was just like single digits, like probably 6 or 7, and I saw it back in the day, and maybe like now.
Yeah. No, I haven't
that part.
I haven't seen it since. I know that it was a lot of hubbub about this movie. It was up there with, I think people flock to it because it's like, it's not a slasher. Like someone isn't coming for you because you did wrong things. It's like Halloween. You're minding your own business and then somebody invades your home. Except this case, you buy a home and you're minding your own business, and either the devil or Native American spirits or something comes and screws around with you. And so I think that was the thing. And again, it's based on a true story. Whether or not it's haunted, probably not.
Well, it's close to the Satanic Panic.
Yeah, Satanic Panic. So it was 77. The book comes out in 77. Option the rights. Movie comes out in 79. And it's kind of fresh in everybody's mind, right? So it wasn't too long ago since these people were murdered in this house. But having said that, I saw it on VHS back when video rentals first started. So we're talking 82, 83, 84. My grandmother was big on horror movies. I don't remember if this was in the piracy library. However, I do know that right around this time, they were also playing this movie on like TV 38. Like back when everything was closed on Sunday and you were forced to be with your family on Sunday afternoons, TV 38, the UHF stations would play the movies in the afternoon, and one of them was Amityville, and that would be on basically every year, and you were waiting for that movie to come up. So this and The Changeling, remember Jay the Changeling?
Yes.
Right? Very scary at times, kind of boring at other times. A lot of the same vibes. A lot of camera angles coming from the second floor down the stairs. A lot of things happening that you can't explain that are ooky spooky. A lot of people talking through seance and they're not in their own voices. So basically kind of adjacent to each other. Both of them scary. And both of them kind of, when I saw it as a child, again, I'm talking about 5, 6 years old, jangling chandeliers are terrifying. Nuns that can't stay in the house are terrifying. Pigs that suddenly come up in the window and flies are terrifying because without context, just those ideas are frightening. I think from just like a zeitgeist kind of, these are the things that are scary. Like even if you don't understand what scary is, a chandelier moving by itself or a rocking chair moving by itself is scary. Even before you understand what ghosts are. Oh yeah. Ghosts, pigs also scary, but
pig, come on.
Yeah, I know.
Show it in the distance and this big cartoon pig in the the window because that's all they have for special effects. I always thought that was the dumbest thing that they had to put that in there.
You know what? It's at the end of the movie and they're trying to sell that Satan himself is in this house and he doesn't want anybody in this house, and anybody that comes to this house is going to get possessed and they're going to murder their family. That's just, an il fait du complete. It's going to happen, right? So anyhow,
have you guys ever seen the remake with Ryan Reynolds?
No.
That's the one I usually watch.
Okay.
So that's the one that I actually own on DVD. I don't own the original Amityville actually.
Okay.
So but I own the remake with Ryan Reynolds, and that's the one I pop in the DVD player like more than.
So you're saying
I know that one like the back of my hand.
So you're saying that one's good.
I like it and I love Ryan Reynolds. So yeah.
Okay.
And with both movies, the thing that I did not like, and I kind of talked to you a little bit about that, was okay, they, just like when Jaws, like you don't see the shark, it's scarier.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we already know that there is like this brutal murder of 6 people in a family. That's scary enough. You don't need anything else. That's scary enough, and what really happened is scary enough, and the fact that maybe the house could be haunted because of these people died in this horrific way. You don't need this ancient burial ground.
Yes.
John Ketchum, stupid Satan well, whatever. Like, so in the remake, they really go into that a lot, and that's, if you could take out that one whole part of it, I would like the movie so much better. That's the one thing I just didn't like about either one of them.
See, that's what I mean, and that's where I think this movie gets confusing. Well, let me do the rundown. We'll talk about why this movie gets confusing. So hold on, we're gonna go to IMDb. So we've got the Amityville Horror. We're coming in just under 1980 and 1979. It's an hour and 57 minutes. The tagline, for God's sake, get out. That's fun. That's right on the poster. Newlyweds and their 3 children move into a large house where a mass murder was committed. They start to experience strange, inexplicable manifestations, which have strong effects on everyone living in or visiting the house. It's directed by Stuart Rosenberg, written by Sandra Stern, Jay Anson, and George Lutz. Oh, he gets a credit on this. Starring James Brolin, Margot Kidder, so sad Margot Kidder, Rod Steiger, and then the only other person I'll mention here is Murray Hamilton, just because he's the mayor of Amityville, strangely enough. Amity, sorry, in Jaws. So I don't know if they did it on purpose. And once again, he's playing a character that says, don't worry about it. It's not the devil. So look, here's the thing about this movie. I got confused, and this is where first of all, it's so many things to unpack here. First of all, is it the devil? Is it an ancient Indian burial ground? Is it the bad vibes from the people that were murdered in the house? What is haunting this house? I got confused. Like,
okay.
What's haunting the house? Because at one point, we got Rod Steiger, who's being bullied by Satan, apparently for no reason. He has no bearing in this movie except that Satan is bullying Rod Steiger. He's a priest who comes in to bless the house, and he gets harassed by flies. Like, what's his deal? He has no bearing on anything. And then secondly, we have, I know Margot Kidder goes to research what's happening in the house, and they're on an ancient Indian burial ground. Native Americans have nothing to do with Satan. I don't understand that bit. Why are they conflating the two? And it's bad enough. So why did these people, the original, the Fayos, that the original slaughtered family, why did they slaughter that? Were they blaming the devil? Were they blaming Chief Cornstalk? Or actually, or it's that dad was an alcoholic and abusive and eventually murdered his family. I mean, I think that's probably what happened.
Well, the kid is the one that actually murdered his family, not the dad.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yes.
And it's because he was an abusive asshole.
Right.
But the reason that they actually have multiple things going on. So they have, like, the pig that we think is so stupid is supposed to be one of the daughters of the DeFeo kids that was killed.
What?
What? And then Jody, the pig, is supposed to be one of the daughters that was killed, and like the real DeFeo people. And they had to change everybody's names. They had to change the name of the Lutz family's kids and then the DeFeo kids to protect the families. But the DeFeo kids, Jody that she's talking to is supposed to be one of the little girls that died in the house. So there is hauntings in the house. And then also there's also supposedly Butch killed his family because he heard voices in the house, and they're trying to also say that, like, the house had some sort of Satan or something in the freaking ground, the well area, that made Butch do these things. Right. And so supposedly the house and the land in general was, like, tainted in some way, and took a lot of anger and a lot of things that were in that house to bring it out, and had the kid kill his family. And now he's being haunted by kind of like Butch DeFeo and the devil, or the whatever the hell is in the house. And then the little girl is being kind of haunted by the little girl that was killed in the house. So it's kind of a mixture of all of it. That's why I can see you're confused, but it's like a mixture of all of it, really. I
think we should also back up a little bit, because I want to talk about when they're buying the house a little bit.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, think of the idea.
I like that part.
You're buying a fucking house that is like you're like, oh man, the price is so good. I know, but I feel really bad about those 6 people that got murdered. It's like, wait a minute.
I always say that because, like, I am a sucker for nice houses, like, big time. Like, I have my realtor license. I've never used it, but I got it because I love houses. I could look at them all day long, never get sick of looking in somebody's house. I could look at a burnt down factory and be like, you know what you could do with this? You know, like, I absolutely love architecture and I love houses, and I always want to, every time I look at a house, I think of what I could do in that house or how I would change it. And I love old houses. And so I would probably be the person that would get suckered into buying that house because it's gorgeous. It's in a gorgeous town. It's in a gorgeous area. It's on the water. Like, literally, I love that town. Like, that town is gorgeous to me, and I love the houses around it. So, but yeah, it would probably be me that would be suckered into to buying that house. But in the remake, they realize that, you know, they have to be told why it's such a good deal. In this one, they seem to already know why it's such a good deal. I hope to God, I don't know. Like, I would say I could never buy that house knowing what they knew. I don't know how you can live in it, because even if I got like, oh my God, this house is the best, I'm going to fix it up, it's going to be great. The first noise I would hear in the middle of the night, I would be like, oh my God, it's haunted. We got to get out of here.
I have this to add to that. What if your wife woke up and went, wow, he was shot in the head?
Yeah, no doubt.
And by the way, just real quick, I don't care how big, bad that thunderstorm is. How is nobody waking up to shotgun blasts?
Yeah, pretty much.
I have that. And that's in the real case too. No one, and I have this written down later on, but that really drives me crazy because that's a shotgun and 6 murders. Okay. And I don't know if you want to talk about this now or not, but we can talk about it later. But how in the world did no one in the neighborhood hear that? How in the world did no one in the house hear that?
Yeah,
It's ridiculous to me that, like, nobody got up and ran. Everybody was sleeping on their stomachs. That's like a mob type of hit. Like, you know, and nobody moved. And again, I don't know if you want to talk about this now, but we can talk about it later. Like some of the real case, we can talk about it later if you want to. But I have some tidbits on that but you know, I'll talk about it later. But what you said, that's insane. And then me and Chris were talking about it. Okay, it's bad enough you're buying a house that you know 6 people were murdered in, and you're okay with that. And you're going to put your kids in the same freaking rooms that these kids were killed in. But the best thing is, let's just give them the same beds that they were killed in. I want those beds. Oh, yes. Well, yes, that's great. Like, we'll take the beds. We're going to put our kids in there.
Yeah, it's made out of the greatest material. The blood cleaned right out.
Right off. Yeah, it's beautiful. Yep. And the floors underneath, totally clean.
That?
Yep. And it wasn't even that long ago that it happened. Yeah.
Yes.
No, it's cuckoo
it was
nuts.
recently.
And when I was watching it and they were going through their real estate scene, who didn't chuckle when it said, "Oh man, it's really expensive. It's $80,000." Oh my God. Yeah, but really, it's $120.
Yeah,
oh my God.
On Long Island.
I know. On Long Island. Yeah.
On the water.
On the water. Yeah, in Long Island. But
and you should see the house next to it. The house next to it looks like a mansion. Sure. It's incredible. Like, and I'm like, and it had, the original house had an in-ground pool too, and it's got a boathouse and a guest house. You guys.
It's goofy. But what I'm saying is that they're going.
We need a time machine.
Yeah. They're going through the process, and I'm watching it. I'm like, do they know that everyone was murdered in this house? And then Margot, I think, alludes to like something along the lines of they know the history.
Yeah, people were murdered. They were hugging upstairs.
Yeah. I'm like, we'll get over it. And it's like when you get to that point again, I am on the fence on the afterlife. I am on the fence on hauntings. I would like it to be real. I don't think it is. If I saw something that made me convince me, it would convince me. I haven't seen anything yet. I'm not saying it's not happening. But I'm just saying, like, in the context of the movie, the poltergeist people had no idea. In fact, they were duped into knowing that. And in The Conjuring, which is scarier than this movie, they don't know the situation. They walk into it not knowing. Or even with the Changeling. Like, actually, the house isn't haunted. His daughter... Actually, no, the house is haunted with the Changeling. But he thinks he's being haunted by his daughter. Like, they don't know going in. They bought it knowing. So if you do believe in hauntings, well then screw you. You know what you're walking into. Now the fact that they bring up Satan and the oil pits of hell and Chief Cornstalk or whatever it is, the Native American thing, like all of that is just all gobbed in together. But can we talk about James Brolin? First of all, he's got beautiful hair. Second of all, okay, he's got beautiful hair. No doubt about it. I have a problem with James Brolin. I think he acted as it wasn't real good. His son's better as an actor. I wasn't really buying his crazy because I thought it was too over the top crazy. It would be like me playing crazy. It would be like me trying to be Jack Nicholson in The Shining. Jack Nicholson.
I thought he did a good job.
I thought he did a shitty job. He did a shitty job, in my opinion, because he was trying to sell crazy too hard. Jack Nicholson in The Shining, I know you think The Shining is boring. We're not going to talk about The Shining. But I think this movie's boring. So and that's fine, whatever. The fact of the matter is that Nicholson is over the top, but I don't know how hard he's trying to be over the top. Where to me, James Brolin is just pumping it over the top. And my problem with this movie, and they tell us a time frame as to when they buy the house and when the final murders happen, like 19 days later. On day 2, he's losing his mind. On day 1, he buys the house. He's as nice as can be. He loves his stepkids. He wants to get this will be great for the business. This is going to be a wonderful opportunity. And they're unpacking it. He turns into an asshole. Like he's already been hitting the hooch. And if you notice, all the packing boxes are from liquor stores. Just saying. Maybe they're alluding to the fact that he's an alcoholic. Yeah, they're all. Now, back in the day, if you wanted to move and you need boxes, you went to the liquor store to get boxes. So that's neither here nor there. But the fact of the matter is they're all liquor boxes. And he is automatically nuts. Like nuts. And then he goes to being a little less nuts sometimes. And then being more nuts other times. So I don't know where he is in this. Like, I have a hard time tracking James Brolin's descent into madness because he automatically is mad and then gets less mad and then gets more mad. I mean, mad insane. And then at the end, I'm waiting for him to have so we're to assume that the demons are taking over. He's getting sicker and sicker. He's eventually going to murder his family because he's going to succumb to the demons. But then at the end, he just decides, no, I'm going to be good. He never has a come around moment. Like, oh my God, I've hit rock bottom. I'm about to murder my family. Not this guy. I will not allow that. Satan will not tell me what to do and doesn't turn it around. He just decides, maybe I'll save my family now. I didn't buy that. I'm not buying that.
And that was very, very different.
Yes, I'm not.
That was very, very, very different from the remake because if you listen to George Lutz's kid, like his real kid, he talks about how much he hated his stepfather and how much of a horrible, like in real life, how much of a horrible person he was. Yeah. And supposedly George Lutz, when he gets into this house, he's the one that's mainly targeted. And that's what happens to Ryan Reynolds. But with Ryan Reynolds, he's the sweetest guy in the world when he goes in there. And then he increasingly becomes such an asshole. And it just gets worse and worse and worse. And then when you get him out of the house, like she'll go out to dinner with him and he's the nicest person again. He's like, I just needed to get out of that house. And then you get him back in the house and he's nuts again. So, and then in that one, they don't have to with this one is so different because they'll be like, we got to get out of here. And he's like, yeah, you're right. We got to get out of here. And he even goes back to save the dog, which I think is awesome. But with the Ryan Reynolds version, he's like, no, they're like, we're going to smack him over the head or kill him and get the heck out of this house because we have to get away from him. And she wants to take him. She knows that if she gets him out of the house, he's going to be different. But it's so different from the way he acted.
I don't think it's appealing. It's not fun to watch because he keeps going back and forth. And I'll give you this. And again, I'm guessing I'm giving my treatise on why I didn't like it that much. Again, I don't think there's much too scary about this. Now, as an adult, and I think Melanie and I talked about this, is as an adult, I don't find moving rocking chairs and moving chandeliers scary. Okay, that's whatever. Now, granted, if I opened up my downstairs staircase and saw a floating head of me in a red staircase, but you know what I'd do at that point? Everybody, what would you do?
Get out.
Yeah, you'd leave. I mean, once I see the floating head of me that I know I saw, see ya. Not only see ya, there's this thing in the mortgage company. It's called a quick sale. and you just sell the house. You don't, you put up the house for what you owe on it. You don't make any money on it. It's called a quick sale. You don't get anything in return, just getting it off your hands. It's called a quick sale, folks. Do the quick sale. Get the fuck out of there. It's unnecessary. But my point is this. So guys, the house is getting more and more haunted. We're waiting for the scene where the walls are bleeding, which they allude to in Ghostbusters. It's only 5 years later, by the way. Ghostbusters 5 years later. So the walls start bleeding. We're kind of near the end. I know we're kind of skipping around. But the point of fact is, before all that happens, the priest has gone blind. Okay, Rod Sarget's gone blind. Again, he's got nothing to do with the movie. I'm sorry. He tries to bless the house. He gets scared away by flies, and then he goes blind. What the hell was he doing? I don't even know what his deal was. But at one point, they put a crucifix on the wall. It's shiny. Shit's starting to go south. Yeah. They go back into the room with the crucifix. It's upside down and tarnished black. He takes it. They shine it up, and he starts blessing the house himself. Until at one point he drops it. I don't even forget what. Things are going bad. The cross is upside down and tarnished by itself. Yet there are scenes later where people are sleeping in the house. The children are still in the house. James Brolin, George Lutz is acting kind of normal. Margot Kidder doesn't seem phased at all. Go away. Get. What are you doing? Get out. Who would stay? And it's all over the place. Like the times... Like they keep escalating the horror and then they stay and then they seem normal. They don't even seem like in Paranormal Activity. I don't know how you feel about Paranormal Activity, the movie, as one of those found footage movies, but the terror keeps increasing. And then it goes slow, and then it's exponentially terrible. And I like that movie. You can't watch it more than once because you know the whole deal. But it gets that terror to some end that is getting worse and worse. And this one, it just keeps going back and forth, so it's hard for me to follow it. I don't know. I've been going on for about 2 minutes.
Well, when the blood was starting to come out of the walls and the stairs, that was when they were leaving.
Yeah. But I'm saying before he hit a head and they said, we've got to get out of here. I don't care what happens. There is scenes when they're blessing the house with the tarnished cross, and then they're still having another day there. Like, what? What?
It's because he didn't want to leave. Ryan Reynolds did the same thing. So when she was complaining, like, okay, we got to get out of here, they both kind of said the same thing. You wanted this house. We're stuck here now. Pretty much all their money's in that house. We're staying.
That is grounds for divorce. You can just go ahead and leave. Leave the man there. He's not worth it. Or the wife there. They're not worth it. Get out of it's not a good. This is a toxic situation. Yeah. Either with a bad spouse or Satan himself, depending who you're married to. Argument, jury's still out on that. You know what I mean? So like, you just go. Like, I don't understand. You know what I mean? And well,
it's a horror movie.
I know it's a horror movie.
You can't be smart. You got to be stupid.
But
like smarts are like, why can't you just get in the running car? Are you crazy?
But to me, that's where it falls short. I mean, it's fun to watch in terms of. Again, I was trying to remember why as a child I thought this was so scary, and my siblings who are older than me were telling me how scary this movie was. So they got
it's the time.
It's the time. That's what I mean.
Because if James Wan was handed the rights to the Amityville Horror today, he would fuck people up.
Sure. Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. He would fuck people up because like it would just be done in a totally different pace. Mm-hmm. Everything would be and you would get scared a lot better. Like it was scary in 1979 to watch the girl inside the trapped inside the thing, bloody knuckles, beating the babysitter.
Oh, that's scary. Yep, that was scary.
It is.
Yep.
And then the lights go out. Wow.
Yeah, that's scary. No, that was scary.
It is scary. Yep. He would make it scarier.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
He would do something else to make it even scarier.
Jay, all I can think of, and I'm sorry, I was telling this my wife as well, because we watched the movie together and we were talking about it at breakfast. Like, is James Wan The Conjuring? He's The Conjuring, right? All right.
Yeah, I think so. He's the guy who's behind most of those things.
Yeah. Like the scene with the hide and seek and the clapping. Like, when they set up that scene, that what's coming up, eventually something's going to clap that isn't there, and you're waiting for it. And then when it finally gets there, it's not only terrifying, but he steps up to terrifying. And that's kind of what I wanted here. And I know we're not there yet. It's 79. However, Halloween is always scary and suspenseful. At least suspenseful.
In a different manner, though.
The Exorcist is always suspenseful. The Omen.
Okay.
The Omen.
I gotta say that.
The Omen is a better movie than this one because of what it can do. Go ahead.
It also makes a huge difference of when you're watching it, because if you're just sitting there during the day and you're watching a movie, nothing is going to be scary. Nothing to me. I could watch anything in the world and never be scared if I'm sitting there during the day and watching a movie. And I remember the first time I ever saw Exorcist, I thought, this is the dumbest movie I've ever freaking seen in my entire life. Horrible special effects.
It's so bad that you're wrong.
This is not scary at all. I don't know what the hell people are talking about. And I don't understand how anybody can be scared of this dumbass movie. But then I watched it by myself one time, and it was in the dark, and I was at home by myself. And next thing you know, my mother comes home. There's like every light in the whole house is on, and she's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "I'm watching this movie." She's like, "Well, if you're scared of it, why are you watching? Why you have all these lights on?" It makes a huge difference when you're watching it. Like, I can watch Friday the 13th 1,000 times, all of them, and go to bed. It doesn't scare any part of me ever. But I can't watch The Conjurings or Annabelle or something like that before I go to bed. Or maybe even the Amityvilles. Because if it has to do with like a ghostly type of thing, that's scarier. Or like Lights Out and the fingers are coming around the door and it's like you have to leave a dark space. Those are the type of things that like, if I'm watching them before I go to bed, I have to go, I'm going to put on Scooby-Doo now. You know what I mean? And I got to watch that for 10 minutes before I go to bed or something stupid, like, or a comedy. But like, like The Shining, I remember the first time I ever saw it, I thought it was kind of scary. Then I watched it again and I was thinking, my God, this thing's the most longest, boringest thing I've ever seen in my life.
I'm sorry that you're wrong twice in one day.
When you're watching it. I think it depends on when you're watching it.
Of course. And it depends on what you want to take in. Like, maybe you're in it for the ride. Right? Maybe you're in it because, I watch horror movies knowing that I've seen so many horror movies, and at my advanced age, that's why I don't care about. Look, if there were a chair rocking by itself in my house, I would take the chair and I'd break it and I'd throw it outside of my house. That's it. Or I would, like we have discussions like, if you thought you had a ghost in your house, like, what would you say? I'd say, you need to get out of my house. It's my house. This is my time. This is the time of the living. You need to go. And then like my wife will say, yeah, but what if it answers back? It's not going to answer back. So it's what you're willing to take in at the moment. Like, what energy are you ready for? Right. So like, and
it makes sense if you're concentrating or not. If you're sitting there talking and getting up several times and you're doing other things and it's during the day, of course it's going to be boring. I think if you watched it by yourself at night, and you just concentrated on it, it would be different.
I don't think that's going to happen with this movie. I think this would have happened with this movie when I was younger. I think that would have happened when I was younger.
And you know how it ends. So when you know how things already are and how they end, they're not really scary.
I don't know. Maybe not. It's been such a long time since I saw this movie.
You know how, Melanie, you know how Conjuring ends, but you find that to be scary, like still, right? Like you said, if you watch that at night.
Certain parts of it, and I wouldn't want to watch it before I go to bed.
That's what I'm saying. So like.
But I think anything with me, with any ghostly type of thing, I kind of feel like that.
Okay. I don't know. It's just, I think this movie is interesting in terms of where it is in the pantheon of scary movies, because a lot of people call it a classic. And it was aged. Yeah, and I'm not gonna say There's
something about that time frame, about the Changeling, this all look as if they might have been filmed in 1970.
Yeah.
It's like,
do.
whoa,
really
do. It's just weird how all of a sudden, like, I think it was like 82, 83, that's when things became 80s.
Yeah. But also, if you look at it in the context, and I'm sorry to bring it up, but I'm going to sound like a film nerd. Looking in the context of horror movies, up to 1968, your horror movies were made for children. They were Universal monsters. They were mummies. They were Dracula. They were Frankenstein. They were...
Well, when was Psycho?
But that's my point, is that once Psycho happens, which is a little before 68, nothing like Psycho had ever been made before Psycho. Basically, it was, what if a man with a knife stabbed some people? I mean, that's Psycho, but that had not existed before. And so whatever your take is on Psycho in the pantheon of horror movies, it is the beginning. And then after that, now we're getting into, we've got into all these other horror movies like Black Christmas, like The Conjuring, not The Conjuring, Burnt Offerings, and Last House on the Left, and Return of the Living Dead, and Dawn of the Dead, and all this. Suddenly, all these things that are horror movies that are no longer for children anymore, right? They are something that is to be feared, which is why when you get into Halloween and The Exorcist and all that stuff, these are horrors that are coming into our home. They're not horrors from ancient Egyptian tombs and Transylvania and, whatever, wherever, I can't think of Frankenstein, somewhere in Austria, right? So these are all like all those, the German noir stuff, that's gonzo. And now you're here with these things that are invading our homes. And in 77, 79, it's already a turbulent time, right? 70s weren't great. 2020s aren't great either, but the 70s weren't great in terms of recession and home ownership and the dissolving of the nuclear family and all that stuff. So everything's up in an uproar. And now things are the thing that we found safe, which is our home. People are coming into our home. Michael Myers is coming in. The devil's coming in. Rosemary's Baby. What if the devil, invaded your family unit? The Omen. What if the devil was your child? Well, like suddenly everything's on the forefront. And I think it got to people. And I think that's why it's so scary. Because they're coming into our place. And nowadays we don't care about that. That's why we need James Wan to do The Conjuring and Annabelle and all that shit. Because you got to up the game. It's not just about that anymore. So I'm sorry, go ahead.
But what you're forgetting, one of the major things that would make this movie scary to anybody, it's because it is loosely, I'm going to say loosely, based on a true story in a way where all these people died in this house, which was a horrible thing. So that's the scariest thing. So when you bring like a real murder case into a story, that's what's going to make people get more drawn to it and be more scared about it because it's like it's a horror movie, but for God's sakes, a family lived in this house before and their entire family was brutally murdered.
No, the realism is scary.
That makes it creepier.
The realism is like I just think the way this film was made, it was I think scary in 1979. But I don't think it's as yes, I'd probably scare my kids with it, but that doesn't count.
I just also think I get what you're saying, because it's hot on the heels of the actual thing happening. However, that's scary. Someone just mowing down their own family because they're insane is scary. But they're saying this movie is scary because of whatever demons. Again, they don't really nail down what the evil is. And I'm okay with universal evil. Like maybe it takes many forms, whatever. What's really scary? Walking around with one leg warmer. I wrote that down. That is truly scary. Doing yoga.
Ballet or whatever the hell she was doing.
With one leg warmer. And if you could possibly make love just wearing the one leg warmer, that'd be so hot.
I hated that whole scene. I hated the freaking veiny mirrors all over the place. Yeah. I hated her weird outfit, weird ass outfit, and the little stupid daisy in her hair, and the one leg warmer, and I don't know what she was doing in the mirror by herself. I hated that whole part. What? Now, in the Ryan Reynolds part of that, she doesn't. They bring that up, and she doesn't do some weird thing like that. But when they are doing something, instead of their kid interfering and says, "Hey," and they have to stop doing what they're doing. When he looks up, he sees the ghost of one of the DeFeo kids.
That's scary.
Yeah. I really like the remake. That's the one I own. I love it.
Does anyone in the remake wear two pigtails on the side as a grown woman? Does anyone?
No.
Nobody?
No.
That's out of favor now? Like you can, as an adult mother.
But it's supposed to be taking place in the 70s because they're all wearing 70s clothes.
But
no, she doesn't dress like
that. That is nuts. That's no. Yeah. I'm sorry. No. I'll buy the leg warmer, not the ribbons and the pigtails. I'm sorry. No, not happening.
Yeah. The ribbons. I know,
that's nuts.
Before we do any trivia, do you guys want to talk about the real thing?
It's up to you. Isn't that in the trivia? Can it be kind of?
I put it in my notes, but yeah, I mean, it was just kind of my thing.
All right, well, again, go for it.
Okay, so I just things that just about the real thing, so I talked to somebody that actually lived in that town and actually knew the DeFeos and went there for pool parties and stuff, and I think he was talking to me back because I was talking about how much I thought that area was so pretty. Usually when people are talking about that area, they talk about oh, the horrible stuff that happened in the house and whatever. And the people that from the area, they don't want to be known for that. So anyway, he was talking to me and he said that like it was well known to the people at that time that it was a mob hit.
Okay.
And to me, and I know there's been so much shit about it, but if you like I said, if you look at how literally every single person in that family was face down, nobody got up and tried to run. They, nobody was drugged. Nobody heard rifles in the house. If you're gonna kill somebody, why leave your rifle box in your room? It's like sitting right there up against the wall. And I don't know. I don't know whether he did anything or not. I don't believe anything that came out of Butch DeFeo's mouth anyway, because he was like a drug addict and he was not with it, and he changed his story probably about 10,000 times. Yeah. He had a different story every single time. One of it was the voices that made me do it. One of it, my sister Dawn helped me, and she killed most of the people. One of it was this or that. One of it was the mob hit. What is like he changed his story a billion times. Right. So I don't believe anything that came out of his mouth whatsoever. But the thing is, like, money was there was mob ties on both sides of that family. There was mob ties on his mom's side of the family and his dad's side of the family. And his dad worked for the mob, and the business that he had was a little bit of a money laundering thing that was going on. And when Butch, like, I think it was a few days before the murder, he stole money he was supposed to deliver money. He stole money. This was a few days before the murder. How can that be some sort of a just convenient thing that just seems to happen? I think that's the oddest thing. So I know that like his family was abusive, you know what I mean? He blamed everybody, like, so he could have went crazy and killed his family. But if he did, I think he had help, because you're not going to be able to kill 6 people with a shotgun all by yourself, have not one person get up and try to run away. Everyone's laying face down. The other thing, if it was a mob hit, I think, and people say, oh, well, it can't be a mob hit because mob people don't kill kids. Well, who knows? There could have been some crazy ass mob guy that you can't control. Right. Do you know what I mean? Let's teach them a lesson. They never found the money that was stolen. But I don't know. I just think that, like, I think no one's ever going to really know what happens. If he did kill these people, he either had a help from his friend or help from the older sister. If it was a mob hit, all the people back then were super crooked. Half the cops probably worked for the mob. Do you know what I mean? Like, and this guy was on drugs all the time, and he could have been threatened and just given tons of drugs and said, this is what you did. You're going to confess. You know what I mean? Like, who knows what the hell happened? Right. I mean, I think it's the weirdest thing to happen if you look at the true murder cases of this and how nobody heard anything and how everybody was laying in that one spot. You can't get away with doing that with one person. It's awfully weird to me.
And that was film.
So I don't know. I just think it was the weirdest thing.
That's True Crime on Film Crickets with Melanie.
I just think it's so weird, and I had to bring it up because we're talking about
That's cool.
it. But I don't know.
It's a good really sales pitch for working for the mob, though. I think.
Yeah, 100%. Yep, I'm in.
Yeah, like you know what I mean. Like after hearing that, I want to join.
Sure. No doubt.
And that's like one of the guys that was in that area, he's like, it was just a well-known fact that it was a mob hit. You know what I mean? Like, and people were afraid because of that, because they had ties on both sides, and you're not going to go say something if somebody's involved in mob activities. You don't want to be next to your family or whatever. You know what I mean?
Are you telling me that the simplest answer is probably the solution, that it's not the supernatural, the other world interfering in the lives of humans, but actually just organized crime and the frailties of regular old human beings? I find that hard to believe. Yeah. All right.
Here we go.
TMI.
It's time for TMI with Melanie.
Listen to this. I am in the bathroom right before the movie starts. And I'm in the stall, and there's no toilet paper.
Mine are at home in a display case above my bed. TMI, my friends.
TMI?
Too much information.
Say don't go there, but that's lame.
Now, here's Melanie with your timeless movie info.
All right, Melanie, hit us with a blast.
Okay. This
Shotgun
is another
blast.
weird thing that I just thought of too. Sorry, I just thought of this.
What, too soon?
Okay. No, I just thought of this because, like, you know how they were like, oh, he did all this because he was, like, house poor, and so he had to make up this whole story or whatever? He wasn't in that house long enough to be house poor. They weren't in there long enough, and they never went back for all their stuff, so I do think that's kind of weird, too.
You know, and, hey, the ghost was poor because he stole the money.
True.
You know, the money that the best man.
Oh, from the wedding? Yeah.
from the groom.
Ridiculous.
Where's the cash?
Yeah.
What the hell's up with that?
Oh, God.
Yeah. And he finds a little paper thing that proves there was money in there at one point. All right. So the budget was $4.7 million. It grossed $86.4. This is one of the rare horror movies that had a 0 dead body count. If you think about it, no one died in it.
True.
People died before this ever happened. It was one of the highest grossing independent films. It was an independent film of all time. It was well known as also one of the highest grossing horror films in cinema history. The producers had initially sought to film the house, I told you this, in the real Amityville area in Long Island, New York, but authorities denied them for doing that. So they end up, in 1978, they found, they put an ad in a local newspaper seeking any homeowners that had houses that looked similar, and that it would let them lease it to make the movie. So all the exterior shots were actually in New Jersey, and then they put the windows in, converted it, you know. It cost them like $12,000 to lease it and another $31,000 to make the property on the outside, you know, with the windows and kind of looks similar to some of the things. Most of the interior shots were filmed in a studio. Let's see. Oh, you remember how we were talking about the bearded man in the red room when James Brolin sees that when he looks in there? That was actually his real brother.
Oh, all right.
Because they wanted somebody that would look kind of like him. And they put a beard on him for that. Because this movie was made on a low budget, James Brolin did what other people did. He took less money up front with a promise of 10% of the gross sales after its release. After the movie became an unexpected blockbuster at that time, top 10, he eventually received about $17 million. And when this information was made, it was in 2021. And they said in 2021, with inflation, it would have been $63.5 million.
Wow. All right.
So he made a pretty good amount of money off of it. But he also said, a good thing he made money off of it, because he said that after he couldn't find a job for 2 years after doing this because his character was an ass. Oh, and you know the priest, when there's flies all over his head, they rubbed honey on his head to get the flies to go to his head.
I was asking Chris, I was like, how many takes?
Ugh.
Yeah.
Like, did he have to go through? Like, take 21. Like, take 21? I don't want bugs on my face anymore.
Spritz him with the honey again.
Yeah. Well, and the cinematographer, Fred J., he admitted that he had such a hard time filming that scene with the flies because he was scared of insects. And he was super grossed out by them. In fact, he said that he had to look away or close his eyes and hope for a good shot. He lost nearly 30 pounds because he refused to eat, saying that the flies made him lose his appetite.
Flies are bad.
Yeah. James Brolin was hesitant when he first was offered the role of George Lutz. He was told that there was no script for the movie and that he must obtain a copy of Jay Anderson's novel and read it as soon as possible. He started reading the book one evening at about 7 o'clock, and he was still reading it at 2 o'clock in the morning. He said he hung a pair of pants up in the room earlier that night, and in a really tense part of the book, the pants fell down from wherever they were hanging, and he jumped out of his chair and hit his head or something. All right. And then that's when he agreed to do the movie because it scared him. While washing dishes, Margot Kidder's character, she's humming. And I tried to listen for this, and I didn't really hear it, but supposedly she was humming the love song from Superman 1978. Oh. You know, because she was in there, and that's how she got this movie to begin with, because she was in that movie. Sure. Let's see. While shooting the scene where Kathy Lutz is startled by the red eyes in the window, the director, Stewart, wasn't impressed by her reaction. So according to Kidder, he then tried to hold up a day-glow orange stuffed velour pig with glass eyes in an attempt to startle her, but instead she just hysterically started laughing. Sure. A couple ties to Halloween. One of the kids with the curly hair was apparently in the 2018 Halloween, and Margot Kidder was in Rob Zombie's Halloween too. Harrison Ford, which is weird, was considered for the role of George Lutz, and Burt Reynolds and James Caan and Christopher Reeves were also considered for that role. I can see Burt Reynolds just snapping his gum. You know. Yeah, he would have probably been the best one out of all those people that were in there. Yeah, that's all. He's got the hair. That's it. All right. Cool. Yeah. Thank you, Melanie.
It's time now for final judgment. Are you ready to rubber stamp this bitch? Here's the final judgment.
All right, it's time for final judgment. We talk about no more opinions, but fact. And we're going to talk about how well this movie holds up today. So, Chris, I have a feeling I know where you stand.
Yeah. No, it doesn't hold up at all. I think it's not very scary. The ending bothers me. Basically, the final card that says, and they move to another state and everything's fine. Not a fan of that. Not that I need a big, long, drawn-out ending. John Carpenter is known for just ending movies and that's it. No epilogue. I don't need that, but I thought it was kind of a cheap way. Basically, to me, it was, all right, we're going to finish this thing up. How are we going to finish it? I don't think it's really that scary. I think it definitely was scary at the time. There's no doubt about it. This movie was in the zeitgeist. And I think movies have progressed since then. I think it's coming at the tail end of the mid 70 classics. I think the shine is off the rose. Is that the phrase? Whatever. The shine is off the rose. I'm making it up. Patent pending.
The frost is on the pumpkin.
The frost on the pumpkin, the hay is in the yard. No, I think we're coming around the other side of the really good haunted house movies. And we're coming into the 80s where the slasher will be king, and that's it. So I'd say no. I don't think it holds up. I don't even, watch it by yourself in the dark at Halloween. Maybe you'll be scared. I think nowadays, you'll be mostly annoyed, but that's just me. So no, doesn't hold up. Next, what we got?
Okay.
Go ahead, Melanie.
All right. So as far as the way it looked, I'm going to say it doesn't hold up just because it looked super, super aged to me.
Brolin's makeup is terrible. His insane makeup is terrible.
At least it's not like the makeup from when they tried to make a Shining 2. Remember that with the green Hulk fake?
Sure, but
that was pretty bad.
Okay.
So anyway, yeah, it just looks really, really, really aged to me. It does kind of look like The Changeling because it just looks so old.
Mm-hmm.
So old. I've always liked anything with a cool house in it. I've always liked haunted house type stuff. I still like the movie. I like the remake better because that's the one I own and I watch that a lot more. But like I said, I wish that they would just take out the entire reason why they're blaming the house to be haunted to begin with. I think that's stupid. I like the entire movies, but I just don't like that one piece of it that they don't need. There's just no need for that. They could just say it's haunted because a family was murdered here, period. They don't need to be like, oh, there's some black crap in a well and I don't like that. I don't like that part of it. I just wish you could take some pieces out of some movies. And then and the guy's always complaining that it's like freezing in the house, but the windows are open.
Yeah.
I remember that the cop was sitting outside with like a coat and a hat on and he's freezing his ass off. And they have like the windows open in the house. I thought that was kind of funny. But yeah, I guess I think it holds up in a way where they're still making movies like this. And I think it spawned a lot of movies. If it wasn't for this movie, we might not have a lot of the Conjurings and Annabelles and the Amityville remakes and all that kind of stuff. So I think it's a classic horror movie, but in a way, I think you kind of have to either be brought up in that era to appreciate it, because the way the movie is right now doesn't really hold up. Mm-hmm. But I still love it.
So it doesn't hold up.
She said
you
no.
said it. You said it doesn't hold up, but I love it. So does it not hold up?
Yeah. Right.
Okay, got it. So you're with me. Except I don't like it and you do. But
I love
okay, that's fine.
yeah.
But it doesn't hold up. Cool, Jay.
Yeah.
No, it does not.
Okay.
That was throughout most of it, I was watching it going, yeah, no. Like sometimes I can't. Sometimes I have trouble. This was like an instant, almost like no.
Mm-hmm.
No, just throughout the whole thing, I was like, no, it doesn't. And I always appreciated it for what it was, like, you know what I mean, all like, and still do. I respect it for its time. It just doesn't like, that scene in Monsters Inc. where they go, it gets harder and harder to scare kids, and you see the kid like watching the TV, like and it's like, yeah, I can see that, like, like some kids like today or whatever, like people today would look at this and go, meh, like, because if they've seen The Conjuring or I just looked it up. James Wan did The Conjuring, Annabelle, Insidious, The Nun.
Oh, Insidious, yeah.
Right? Yeah, even, it was, I mean, he did all those freaking things. I mean, he has a knack, and I'm not just, but By the way, 46 years old. What the hell?
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus
Doesn't that make you feel good?
Fucking hey, boy. Oh, God. All right.
Holy shit. But it's all about, like, I think everything, it's got timing, like, you know, the way the horror is today. It's like, you know, they'll do that, even today, they'll do that mirror thing, you know, like the mirror opens up, you're looking at yourself in the mirror, you shut the mirror, like someone's right behind there.
Yeah.
You know, like that actually, it still works. You see it coming a mile away, boom, there it is. So there's a lot of, this lacked a lot of that. Like, so you just can't, it doesn't feel the same.
But like I said, like if we didn't have Amityville, we wouldn't have had a lot of these other things. So you got to appreciate it. And we wouldn't have had Amityville
I appreciate
remakes.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, I love Amityville the remake. But like I said, if you watch Amityville the remake, you're going to love it. But you got to take out that entire John Ketchum thing. Like that whole, if you take out that whole piece, it's just so much better. But he's absolutely amazing in it. And it's really, really good. There's one creepy line in it, like a really creepy line that I love in that one where the little girl's walking around with this doll all the time, this beat up doll. And it's so good because like the priest comes to the house and he goes something like, he said like that he recited over like the DeFeo's like funeral, and he's like, where'd your daughter get that doll? And she was like, oh, it was left here in the house. And he's like, no, it wasn't. That girl was buried with that doll.
Nice.
It's just like such a creepy thing. And like, I don't know, that one's a really, really good one. And the house doesn't look anything like this one, but it's really, really good. So yeah, I like anything to do with like some sort of a haunted house.
I think this movie, if anything, proves the format of the show. There's without a doubt, it absolutely, from what we remember, was like keep you up at night, scary in 1979, regardless of your age, 5 or 50. And I think now it's going to be hard pressed to scare anybody. Not that we don't appreciate it, even though I don't think it's that good. Certainly, I can appreciate it as being the forerunner of a lot of other things. The beginning. But I mean, that is the show right there. There's nothing necessarily. It's of its time, and not scary anymore. So I think it does ask the question: does this stand the test of time? And I think no. I think it has been left by the wayside.
I think it would be boring to a lot of the people who have been watching the Conjurings and the Annabelle.
Sure.
They would find it super boring and, like you said, not scary. But I think that if you were maybe having somebody watch it that really doesn't like scary movies, or like a kid that hasn't really seen many of them, and you stuck them and said, "Here, watch this," and they'd be scared.
I think maybe historians, like film historians that like are younger, like but they're like learning about all these things and they're really fascinated by it. I think they'd really probably enjoy the movie for what it was.
Yeah. Or look at like Casablanca. Like if you watch Casablanca, you probably watch it and go, "Wow, everything in this movie is like really corny." Yeah, I know, but this is the beginning. Like there's nothing before this that is like this. So therefore, it's corny because everybody's copying to this thing. So regardless of how you feel about it, like it's coming from there. So it doesn't matter if it holds up. Gone with the Wind, same thing. Like absolutely doesn't hold up on a lot of levels. I like it.
And for me, like I don't care whether the movie holds up or not if we get to do a horror movie, because that's just
it's my
so
jam.
much fun for me. So
that's my jam.
Yeah. So I don't care if it's like the worst thing that's ever been out, the best thing that's ever been out. I just love talking about them.
Even Killer Clowns from Outer Space, huh?
That's not a horror movie though.
Okay. All right. Let's finish this thing up.
That was our show, everybody. I'd like to thank Steve Lavoie for doing our vocal imaging, and Draco and the Malfoys for our theme music. And I am Jay Fortier, and on the behalf of Melanie Howerton and Chris Martineau, I'd like to thank you for joining us again on the Film Crickets. And once again, movies may not age like fine wine, but we drink them anyway. Bye.
Film Crickets, chirp about movies.